Hello everybody, I'm Andy Cialfo and welcome to our second installment of Beyond the Boundary. Today we are joined by three esteemed panelists who work for Control Point Associates: James Weed, Jody Lounsbury, and Christopher Gray. First, let me introduce Jim Weed. Jim serves as Senior Vice President and Principal at Control Point Associates. With over 23 years of experience in the land surveying industry, Jim has been a key contributor since joining Control Point in 2008. He brought with him deep expertise in construction stakeout services, expert witness testimony, and geodetic control services. Jim holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Survey Engineering Technologies from the New Jersey Institute of Technology and is a licensed professional land surveyor in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Vermont. In addition to remaining actively involved in the company's production operations, Jim plays a vital role in guiding construction services and mentoring staff across the organization. As a partner and member of the executive leadership team, he helps shape the strategic direction of the company, including driving acquisition initiatives. In fact, our other two panelists joined Control Point as a result of such acquisitions. Jody Lounsbury is the Regional Branch Manager for Control Point Associates Greater New York Region. He joined the company in 2016 through a strategic acquisition, bringing with him over 34 years of comprehensive experience in a wide range of surveying applications. Jody has more than 18 years of specialized expertise in developing and refining workflows that integrate static and mobile LiDAR with conventional survey data. He also has contributed to software beta testing and evaluation. Within Control Point, Jody plays a key role in shaping internal training procedures related to the collection, integration, transmission, and storage of LiDAR data sets. He has delivered survey and LiDAR services to a variety of clients, including local, state, and federal agencies such as the NYSDOT, PA, New York and New Jersey, and NYDDC, as well as private sector organizations like Norfolk Southern Rail Corporation, CP Railroad, and Sikorsky. As a published author on LiDAR technologies and applications, Jody is also a frequent speaker at both state and international conferences. He is a licensed professional land surveyor in the state of New York. Chris Gray is a project manager at Control Point Associates Highland, New York office, where he oversees operations throughout the Hudson Valley region. Chris joined the firm in 2022 through a strategic acquisition and brings over 12 years of comprehensive experience in the surveying industry. In his role, Chris manages a wide range of responsibilities, including project oversight, scheduling, and supervision of field crews, and maintaining strong client relationships. His expertise spans deed and record research, field preparation and reconnaissance, data collection, processing, network adjustments, mapping, and ensuring quality control at every stage of a project. Chris earned a Bachelor's of Science in Surveying and Engineering from SUNY Alfred and is a licensed professional land surveyor in the state of New York. Gentlemen, welcome. Shall we get to it?
Thank you.
Okay. Starting with Jim, can you give us a brief introduction of yourself and your career?
Sure. So I think it's fair to say that these guys will probably back me up on this, that no one comes to surveying honestly, right? We all have stories and strange, not straightforward ways of getting into to this as a way of making a living. So me personally, I was in college, and my family circumstances necessitated me getting a job, and my best friend had been doing surveying as an intern over the summers, and he had just graduated from college, and he knew I needed to get a job, so he got me a job as an instrument operator on a survey crew, and small engineering company in Pennsylvania, and it was a great job because I got to do everything. I got to do field work, I got to do research, I got to do the inside work, and we were it. You know, it was the four-person firm, which I'm grateful that I got to start in a place where I got to try everything.
Yeah.
And learn everything. So that was a good start.
Good. Jody.
Well, to follow up on Jim said about falling into the profession, I started as a board drafter for a small surveying and engineering firm. Started surveying, covering vacations for field crews when they were out, and as I did more of that, my career started tracking more towards survey than the drafting portion of it. So I just kind of, as Jim did, started out, went out as the instrument operator. This is great. You know, it's a great profession, and didn't know about it before. I was just drawing the results. But now I'm outside, I'm hiking, I'm in the woods. To give me a machete and let me cut through the woods. So I just kind of kept following, and then it kind of morphed away from the drafting and more into the survey tech role, and led me to where I am today.
Thanks. Chris?
Yeah, to follow up on that, I mean, I originally started out as an engineer, and I had an internship with my local municipality, and halfway through the internship, I decided I did not want to be an engineer anymore, and my boss at that time said, why not? And I explained to him I didn't, particularly enjoy being in the office all the time. So he asked me if I ever wanted to be on the survey crew. I had no idea what it was, never really heard of surveying before. Jumped on the field crew for the rest of the summer, went back to college, changed majors, and the rest is history, as they say.
Very good. Change major. What was your major prior?
Civil engineering.
Okay, the dark side. So
It is the dark
you came
side.
over to survey. So
I did, yes.
That's great. So I alluded to the fact that both Jody and Chris joined CPA through acquisition. Perhaps starting with Jody, take us through that. When was the group that you were with acquired by CPA, and then what's been your experience since you've been here those 7-8 years at this point?
Well, I started with Control Point in 2016, and then the acquisition actually happened a year and a half later. I was kind of the advanced team. So
you were the point of the spear, right?
We brought over the survey group that I've been working with previously, which was a very good experience, kind of, as we say, got the band back together. But at the same time, it also took an office of 3 and turned it into an office of 19 overnight. So there was a lot of success and growing pains all at the same time. But as far as the overall acquisition with the interior controls and CAD standards and field procedures and everything that were already in place in Control Point, the transition was actually quite easy, because everything was just bringing the people and training them in a new way of doing things. And the company was very supportive, getting everybody up and growing, because it was overwhelming, but a very good success in the end. And we brought an office back together. All of us worked together for 15, 20 years. So we had a new office for Control Point that had, a tight-knit group already in it.
And that core group that came over 7 or 8 years ago with you, most of them remain at Control Point in Albany, yeah?
Yeah,
both
the
field
bulk
and
of the
office.
core group in the field and office are all still with us.
Okay, good. Chris, what about you?
Kind of the same boat. We are coming up on 3 years here this October since the acquisition, and it was the same-ish scenario. We were a larger, small firm, I like to say. We had about 15 employees. Again, all of them transitioned over into Control Point, and the transition from a firm like that into something like Control Point was definitely a little bit of a shell shock for me at first, but it's something that I've come to know and grow and love. And the opportunities here are definitely more than I ever dreamed of 10 years ago when I first got into this profession. So
when you started with Control Point, you were an assistant project manager.
Correct.
Right? And now you're a project manager?
Yes.
Right. And what did you start at Brooks & Brooks? Did you come in as a survey technician?
I came in as a survey technician. It was, again, a smaller firm, so I was running in the field on field crews, coming back doing deed research, offers preparation, boundary, initial boundary determination, and learned how to actually become a surveyor there from the bottom up. And all that experience has transitioned very well into Control Point.
That's great. And both you and Jim started with Control Point in different roles than you're at now. And I think that leads nicely into our next question, which is about managing staff. CPA offers several programs to encourage professional development, to encourage licensure. How do you encourage your staff to grow professionally? Maybe start with Jim for this one.
Yeah, so it's a great question.
That's why I wrote it. Thank you very much.
At the end of the day, I think the number one thing for us is by example, right? Because I know for me, coming up through the ranks, the guy who was licensed wherever I was, and I worked for a number of different firms throughout my career, that guy who was licensed, who got to sign the plans, I wanted to be that guy, right? So I think as I've moved up through the ranks, I was trying to become that person, right? And now that I am sitting where I sit, I want to encourage other people to want to be me, right? So I think that's probably number one, and maybe a little esoteric, but it's true. Beyond that, I'm constantly going to the guys throughout the organization that I know have either the experience or the education or both to qualify for different levels towards licensure, and really encouraging them to make the most of it, and to move into it and to take on more responsibility. And I think as a management group, our company does a good job of that, but you could always do better.
Thank you. Jody, what about you? How do you encourage staff to grow professionally, perhaps become licensed?
We're always cross-training. You know, it's on everybody to train the person below you to help move them up to the next position. In the company overall, in our office in particular, all of our office staff has come from the field. We constantly build that peer person, build it up. We have one of the survey techs in our office right now came over through the acquisition as a party chief, and he's worked his way up into the office. Our APM came over as a party chief, and he's worked his way up through. So we're always involving the staff at all levels in all of the day-to-day operations. We don't work in a tiered system. You know, it's everybody's working together, learning that next responsibility, that next move.
Thanks. Chris, I know your office puts a lot of faith and effort into staff development and encouraging licensure, so maybe talk to us about that.
Yeah, so currently we actually have 4 licensed professionals in our office, and our survey tech, who is sat in, he put his application in, it was accepted, and he just passed the New York State specific test. He has the 2 federal tests to take yet, but it's, as Jody just mentioned, it's a lot of you know, just putting them in the position, and training and the support system that you can give them. But a great deal of it is on that individual too, because they gotta want to have the drive and the effort to further their own career. So being able to spot that and individualize and point out to that employee how and what he or she needs to do to move forward is a big part of it too.
Yeah, and you're right. I think all 3 of you alluded to the fact it takes a lot of time and effort. You're working a full-time job, you have family obligations, and now you have to make that time and that commitment to go back to school, and that comes with certain sacrifices. And Jim, you said it's not easy sometimes, and I know your journey to getting your degree in surveying and licensure was not an easy one. Could you maybe share that with us?
I can, and just before I get into that, just to kind of wrap up the initial question, because as I'm listening to these 2 guys talk, I think culturally we're really set up to encourage growth, because everyone at every level is taught and encouraged to replace themselves, which is culturally very different than our industry. Just based on my experience in all the places I've worked. Sure. So you've got this constant, well, there's opportunity, right? And myself and my 2 partners have, since we began running the company, always tried to create a situation where we're constantly growing. And the reason for that constant growth is to provide opportunity, so that there's somewhere for a Chris to grow into. But if Chris is going to grow into something, he's got to replace himself where he is. So he's constantly training somebody to take over for him. So culturally, I think that's a big difference. Me personally, I was very happy in the field. I was working actually for a heavy construction company doing nothing but bridges, and was young, got married, and decided to go back to school, and took a fairly sizable pay cut to go to work for an engineering company because they had tuition credit. And the office was close enough to NJIT that I could do night school. So I did that, and I did my NJIT degree in 4.5 years at night, which was zero fun. But at the end of the day, put me in a position to really go wherever I wanted.
Thank you. Jody, so we have core values, right? There are 6 of them, and it's a big diamond, and quality sits at the top, right? Because we believe that providing quality services to our clients is the paramount thing that we can do. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Albany and Rochester offices and how you ensure that you're delivering a quality project on time and on budget to your clients?
Well, a lot of that starts what we've been talking about. It's about everybody being trained in every position, because you're only as good as your weakest link. So you want to eliminate that weakest link and keep everything going. Within the company, we have a series of checklists that the crews that start from when the job is set up, day one, to when the field work is completed, and we work through everything, to the final product. Our offices, my offices are lucky. We have 4 PLSs in our offices. We have a lot of experience, starting with Chuck Lent, who's licensed in like 7 states and is a very good mentor. And that really flows back down through all the staff, because as we're going over jobs and setting up jobs, we're involved with it day to day. All the PLSs are involved with the projects, with the setup, talking with the field crews, answering the field crews' questions, and trying to avoid any pitfalls. Every job is different. Scope may be the same, but every job is different, and with the experience we have and the guys we have, we try to work and minimize that.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to give the three of you an opportunity to talk about what delivers a successful product to a client. And I'm not a surveyor, so I'm going to give you the non-survey review of that. But jump in and tell me what I missed. So I would assume when you're working with a client, you want to understand their needs, right? You want to listen to the client to understand what they want at the end of the day. And because we're not just surveyors, we're professional consultants, we're going to try and educate the client to ensure that what they're asking for is exactly what they want. Once that's done and the scope of work is agreed to, I presume that you then allocate time to the various individuals that will be working on the survey, so that everyone has an appropriate amount of time to do their piece of it. The data comes into the office, it's processed, a draft deliverable is developed, and then it goes through several reviews to make sure that the quality is there and it's being delivered correctly. And within all that, the timeline is met, and the product goes out to our client. Is that kind of how that all works?
Sure. We're way more standardized here at Control Point than any place else that I've ever been. I'll go back to the best boss I ever had was very fond of saying that every survey should be on time, on budget, and correct. And if you can't be on time, you should still be on budget and correct. And if you can't be on time and you can't be on budget, it still needs to be correct.
Right? So
the idea, the notion that quality had to be number one was kind of ingrained in me pretty early in the process. And we have very well developed processes here to ensure that that's being handled at every stage of the game. At the end of the day, quality is the price of admission, right? So what differentiates us? Because there's lots of good surveyors, right? So what makes a survey done by Control Point different than a survey done anywhere else? And the reality is most of it has to do with the timing. We can do a really, really quality job, generally a lot faster than a lot of our competitors, just because we have a lot of resources. We have way more resources than most surveyors do.
So we kind of make the impossible possible.
Every day.
Just came up with that.
We call it making the magic happen.
Making the magic happen. That's right. So to close out our discussion, and we'll start with Chris on this one. For someone interested in the land surveying profession, what advice would you give them to start their journey?
Go out and knock on some doors and try to get in the door, literally. Like I said, I started as a civil engineer. I had no idea what surveying is, and we do a lot of career fairs, both high school and college level. I personally go to a bunch of them, and a lot of kids today really still have no idea what land surveyors do. So a big part of our job here actually too is educating them and showing them it is a career path. And now in New York State you are required to have a
four-year degree.
Before you didn't necessarily have to, but just because that's required doesn't mean you can't go and try it out for a summer. We throw people on our field crews all the time for an internship. Test it out, see if you like it. But without getting out there and making the contacts and putting forth the effort, you'll never know. So
yeah, I know your office does hire interns. It tries to bring them through the various different tasks of being a land surveyor, so they're very well-rounded, and then they can make their decision. To your point, so it might be for them, and that's great, and we'll help and support them and mentor them. It might not be, but at least they've tried it out and they know.
Yep.
So, Jody, what about you? What advice would you give for a person wanting to or thinking about entering the industry?
I would tell them to do a couple internships and use different types of firms. There's many different types of survey firms out there. There's consulting firms, there's local surveyors that don't work more than an hour from their office. There's surveyors that use no technologies. There's companies like ours that are technology based. So if you really are interested in the profession, I feel that you would need to try out a couple different sizes and different types of firms, because you may not be, you may not be inspired by going out and surveying half-acre village lots every day. But if you come to a different type of company where we're out and you're doing that village lot one day and you're laser scanning a building the next day, or doing a UAV survey the following day, there's a lot of different opportunities out there. So I would say really check it out and don't get discouraged if that first internship or that first opportunity really isn't what you're looking for, because there's a lot of different options in this profession.
Yeah, thank you. And Jim, same question to you. Maybe you take us home with our podcast today.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I would start off with the advice I got, which was take a class. Just dip your toe, right? There's so many different tracks that you can get into as far as this as a career path. There's a field path. I mean, we certainly have one of the best field staffs in the entire world, and a lot of those guys have high school educations. They've raised families. We've got a lot of guys who've been here 20, 25, 30 years. If you want to work outside and work with your hands and problem solve in real time, that's a great option. There's numerous different paths in the office. So again, to echo what these guys said, try different stuff. I think there's something for everyone. The price of admission is that you just need to want to work hard.
What's one thing people don't understand about what surveyors actually do?
We don't stand on the side of the road and take pictures.
That's it? That's not just all you do?
That's not all we do. Yeah.
Everyone thinks the instrument's a camera.
Yeah.
Well, to Bill, I also think everybody just thinks that all we do is the outdoor part. The client doesn't understand, why is it taking you 3 weeks to finish the survey when I saw your guys out here 2 weeks ago, for a day, and you're charging me, this much. I saw you guys for a day, and I haven't seen anything from you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, not to get on a soapbox, but I think the reality is our industry as a whole hasn't necessarily done a great job over the years presenting ourselves as a profession, right? I've had a number of times throughout my career where I've showed up to a meeting and people are looking around because I'm wearing a suit. And they're like, where's the surveyor? Where's the guy in the flannel shirt and the jeans? And we're not that guy. So I think the biggest misconception is exactly what these guys just said, is the visible part of our profession is the guy on the side of the road. It's not the guy in a suit who's standing in front of a planning board making an impassioned plea for some kind of a variance that the client needs to move their project forward. But we absolutely are out doing that. It's just not what the public generally sees. And I think that I know Chris has done a number of it. Pre-COVID, I was doing maybe a dozen a year, in person, going out to VOTEC schools to raise awareness of the profession, but there's just not enough of it.
More awareness. Well, speaking of that, and kind of dipping into the future, do you think the future of surveying will look drastically different?
Absolutely. And I mean, guys, jump in if you want to, but the reality is the technology is changing way faster than we are.
Yeah, how has technology changed since each one of you have started?
I'll go first just because I'm already talking.
Yeah, and can someone go second?
So when I started, we had an EDM, which is an electronic distance measuring device that was integrated into the actual surveying equipment. And I have good friends who aren't that much older than I am who started when that wasn't the case. We didn't have a data collector, we had a field book. And all of our measurements had to be written by hand and then manually reduced in the office. That's the world I started surveying in. Today, you can get measurements that are pretty close to survey grade with an iPhone. So it's not, so we used to hang our hat as a profession on we're expert surveyors because we can measure. The reality is the world has outpaced us as far as being able to measure stuff accurately. It's what you do with that and the decision making as far as coming up with a professional opinion of where a boundary line is that really separates what we do from just someone who's an expert measurer.
No, sure enough, and thanks for that, and thanks for educating people who might be interested in the industry. The one thing I'll just mention briefly is it's a lucrative industry. Even if you don't want to go and get your degree or become licensed, if you don't mind working hard and being out in the elements, you can make a very good salary for yourself and your family by being a land surveyor, a crew chief out in the field. It's a very lucrative job. If you like working independently, if you like being out there by yourself, it's something to definitely consider. I want to thank everyone for their time today. We appreciate you watching our podcast. If you want to know more about Control Point, please visit our website at cpasurvey.com. And I want to thank everyone. Thank you.